can see popping off your screen right there. The northern one in effect until 11:30, showing the rotation approaching the Lynn Creek area. I know we have a lot of moms and dads that pay close attention to this city there because of their kids. I know I would in your situation. The storm moving about 30 miles per hour. We're going to get to Starkville in the track. But the likelihood is that the rotation part of it's close maybe on the east side of town. I know there's a big apartment complex on the east side of town, so that certainly perks up some ears there, more than a couple. And we're looking Starkville about a half hour if it holds together for that location. We're going to go to the wind mode on some of these and start assessing exactly how that is laid out. And we still show rotation. They've all shown this. That rotation near the Lynn Creek area, moving northward, will go in the direction of Oktok. Hard to say at this point whether or not this warning will be extended farther northward. Luckily, I don't imminently see a tornado on the ground on there, but we're also not going to get these reports until after the fact. And so that's one of the challenges with this situation here, is that you don't, you know, it has to hit something in a lot of cases when you're talking about these kind of storms. The rotation track on this has been pretty consistent, extending southward. You can see where this band has moved. We show at least moderate rotation all the way through this back into Winston County and to the south of that. Luckily, to this point, the reports we have had have not been that we've had any sort of damage. Hopefully it's something we can continue to see. But the thing is on this northern storm, these two storms continue to increase in their rotation and intensity somewhat, even though that track on here isn't as prevalent. And I'm going to go out of our Tupelo tower cam for a moment here. We're going to be looking through a little bit of rainfall. Give me a second as I try to align this better, and I'm about as wide as I can go looking south. We're cutting through here. Now this would be looking toward that northern rotation there. We're looking toward the south and west down the Natchez Trace Parkway. Give me a moment here so I can make sure I'm looking at exactly the right spot on Storm Track Doppler radar. Southward town along the Natchez Trace Parkway. That's about as strong a rotation as you're going to get on the precipitation mode on Storm Track Doppler radar out of one of these. We've got to watch this very closely to the east of Troy, pretty much along the Natchez Trace. I think our tower cam's probably catching this part there near Palmetto, but we'd be trying to look just south of that little inflow notch there. The more that moves north, the better a shot we'll end up having on that. That is extremely concerning. The way that's showing up on Storm Track Doppler radar there in southwest Lee County. That and we are, of course, getting some folks calling in here. This is our Rebecca Butcher here getting onto the road. And I assume this is both Joel and Rebecca. Are you there?
This is Joel, yes.
Okay.
Do you have a feed?
I will check with them in the control room if they have your feed up, and we'll call through there and call the up right now. We have. And can we bring his audio up on the phoner line, or are we just doing that there? Okay, let's have him call in on the phoner line too, because this audio is going to cut in and out if we can. Thank you. So this is Joel, this is Rebecca getting into this storm. Be safe, Joel. This one has intensified in southwest Lee County substantially. The rotation area between Troy and Shannon moving northward. For intercept purposes, you could scurry down the Natchez Trace Parkway, but just be very, very safe with this. And so we'll get back to them here in just a moment. You know, Joel was in here a second ago, and keeping him close to the station, part of the reason we did that was just in case this ramped up like this. So let's do two storm tracks here. First, the northern one there. I want to make sure our speed is accurate on this, because that is an impressive return on Storm Track Doppler radar out of a tropical storm, a tropical rotation like this. You can see how this has just gone from pretty unimpressive to very impressive quickly. So we're about 25 miles per hour on the speed on this. And so let's get our storm track at exactly 25 miles per hour here. And so we're tracking near the Pontotoc-Lee County line there. The western part of Tupelo, this says 24 minutes at that speed there. Might be just a little bit quicker. Information we have coming back and forth is they are more and more likely to issue a tornado watch because of the trend the last 20 minutes where these storms have continued to increase. North of Okolona, that rotation, I don't want to drag this too far north because I don't want to confuse some times here where we have some overlap, but Verona within the next 30 minutes on this, very close, that rotation also increasing. Using the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar here, and that shows that the rotation definitely present on both of these thunderstorms there. If you do live in this Lee County tornado warning, or you know those kids that are going to school, we need to make sure that they are in those tornado safe place. That means the halls at school, and in your house that might mean the exact same place. The tornado safety rules, let's take seriously on both of these thunderstorms here. No guarantees that we'll see a tornado. Unlikely that it be long lasting, but if it hits your house, you need to be away from windows. You need to be in the middle of that structure. You need to be in a sturdy structure on the lowest floor. Find a room in the middle, turn up the volume on your TV, wrap up in blankets and pillows, and stay there until we can give you the all clear. Let's talk a little bit about all clear times. We talked about this with Joel earlier. One of the new features on Storm Track Doppler radar is the ability to give some all clear times as to when you could come out of your safe place on some of these thunderstorms. And so let's do that based upon this northern thunderstorm here. And the times are going to be not arrival, but this is when you can come out of your tornado safe place. And so Tupelo High School, we're still 15 to 20 minutes before you can come out of your tornado safe place. I'd say same for the folks there, West Main and Coley. This is on the northern storm there. Tupelo Country Club, we're talking about 25 minutes before you can come out of your tornado safe place. And TCPS is about 30 minutes before you can come out of that tornado safe place there as these storms continue to increase their rotation. The southern storm, and then we got to hop back to Tippah County. This one still has that main rotation between Okolona and the Leotis community there. This is 245, and so just about a mile to, well, about half mile to a mile to the east of that 245 is where that rotation continues to increase on this thunderstorm. Here, tracking that rotation, the arrival time of that dangerous part of that thunderstorm northward, Leotis 6 minutes, the Old Union community at about 20 minutes. Let's back this off and let's reset for a moment. Meteorologist Matt Lawpon in the studio, meteorologist Joel Young in the field, along with our Rebecca Butcher, our Cody Long in position in the Golden Triangle as we monitor thunderstorms, tropical thunderstorms, thunderstorms that might produce a tornado. I would be shocked at this point if we had any other damage other than maybe a brief tornado spin-up. That's the impact that we could see out of these, but certainly is one we have to take seriously. And the time frame between warning issued and it affecting you might be negative. And by that I mean the rotation, by the time it's strong enough that the National Weather Service issues a tornado warning or we zoom in on it, might happen after it's actually touched down. There's very short to no lead time on these kind of thunderstorms in some cases. And so we have to be very careful, diligent, and certainly we're watching specific bands, like this band that's moving through Tupelo there, where you have 4 or 5 thunderstorms, all with some signs of rotation, all in a row there. Each of these rotating. Which one produces? Do any of them produce a tornado? That's the question that we're still trying to answer. And by the way, there are more thunderstorms to the south. The good news is this is happening earlier. What that means is we're getting to a dry slot down here. So this batch is going to strengthen even more once it moves into Alabama. We're watching for Pickens, Lamar, and Marion counties eventually for you on that. But that could mean that we're done sooner today, hopefully, with that tornado potential. So this all related to Harvey. These all feeder bands into a tropical system, and so even outside these thunderstorms, there will be gusty wind up in that 30, 35 mile per hour range as it's sucking air in, and as it's sucking that air and moisture in, that's what tries to spin these storms up. So we are looking at 2 storms here. What previously was 1, now 2 storms, rotation to the west of Octop and to the south of the Octok area there near the Bluff Lake Road. At this point, looking at Storm Track Doppler radar, neither as impressive as they were 20, 30 minutes ago, but still enough there to warrant paying attention. Northern of those moving, we're going to go 25 miles per hour. That might be a little, that's probably about right on this. The farther east, I'd be a little slow on some of those. And so Octok 7 minutes, the Patrick community about 32 minutes, Rocky Hill, which is near the Starkville area, we're talking 38 minutes on that. And the eastern of those rotations, I'm going to place that just in case it expands outward, maybe more toward Artesia. We'd be talking about 34 minutes for you, Octok community, in about 16 minutes. Coming northward on our thunderstorms here, National Weather Service thinking same things we are, by the way, that these storms, well-developed circulations. You can't argue with that. On Storm Track Doppler radar, there are 2 or 3 spots, at least 2 spots here, 2 very well-developed circulations. One to the south and west of Palmetto near the Natchez Trace Parkway, another one to the west of Shannon. At this point, checking the tornado debris mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, there's nothing there in those 2 spots where those circulations are that leads me to believe that we have tornado debris, but there's going to be very short lead time on some of these, and that's why we have to be careful, and that's why we need eyes in the field. And that's where we bring in our meteorologist, Joel Young, who is continuing to monitor the northern of these thunderstorms, has been the more mature, slightly weaker in the last scan or two. Joel, visually, where are you at first off?
All right, Matt, I'm looking west. We are on the northern loop. We are on the bridge that crosses over the Natchez Trace on the northwest side of Tupelo, looking west. My question is, so this circulation, it's just to the west of Verona, the northernmost one. That if it were to stay together, that would put it near just west of us at some point. Matt, my question is, do I need to hop on 45 and head south to 278? To go west or just look west to get a better vantage point?
Honestly, the problem is that if you headed south, you'd be in rain. We'd have a hard time getting you a good vantage point. You're probably better getting the honestly, you have a good high vantage point there. I would stay there, get to a clear slot, slowly follow it east, and then maybe migrate up 22. The goal being to intercept as it gets west of Belden. Now, that's going to be a slow process, but I think if you shoot south, you would be trying to follow up the southern storm. Not a bad idea to follow up the southern storm there because it has proven to be the stronger one in the last few scans here. But you know, chasing one of these is like chasing the wind. It's just trying to get the best you can at the moment. So I would say if you go south, the goal will be to intercept the southern of the two storms.
So try to go.
Let's do that. Let's
try to go south on 45.
South on 45. Let's circle around 278, catch the southern storm, and kind of follow it up the southwest part there on the backside. That makes sense?
Perfect. Gotcha. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Siren cycling through again in the Tupelo area. Our visual, our shot here out of our Tupelo tower cam looking back toward the south. And we'll go ahead and cycle down Joel's audio if we could for a moment. We're looking south out of our Tupelo tower cam. We're going to pan that back toward the south and west as we continue to look. Heavy rainfall, that's kind of the stuff that Joel was looking into a second ago there. This is the lowering that may or may not be trying to produce something. Luckily, as of the latest reports coming in, we're just talking maybes, possiblies, that kind of stuff on this. No confirmation of tornadoes out of any of these to this point, and that a good sign in that regard. By the way, coming in just in the last moment, a tornado watch box issued for part of our area. The county is yet to be defined, but we can plot that box on here, so give me a moment to be able to do that for you. And hopefully it'll come through. Looks like it hasn't hit our system yet. It will within the next couple of moments, so we'll give it a chance to do that. I would say the headline is this: I want you in your tornado safe place if you live in Starkville. You're not in that tornado warning, but that is coming toward you. Most certainly if you live in Pontotoc proper, if you live in the western half of Lee County. We have 2 circulations that we're monitoring for you. Eastern part, Pontotoc County, as we mentioned. Northern Chickasaw County, we can probably cycle the folks who live in Oklahoma proper, but north of Oklahoma, you need to stay in that tornado safe place. In Oklahoma proper, you probably can come out at this point, but there are other thunderstorms we're watching. As you can see, that blue box on your screen behind me here, that is the tornado watch that came out just moments ago from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. That time is until this evening at 8 p.m. Honestly, we will see cancellation on the western part of this well before 8 p.m. So to reset for a moment here, tornado warnings have been issued. We have had no tornado touchdowns to this point. That doesn't mean we're not 20 seconds away from one. But the fact is that we're going to do our best to track these, but we're unlikely to catch it much before it happens. We're more likely to confirm it after it happens through visual spotting and through tornado debris if that is something that's detected. I'm going to specifically look at the 2 storms that we have here in sections of Pontotoc and Lee and Chickasaw counties to check for that tornado debris. By the way, the National Weather Service canceling the tornado warning for Noxubee, Tippah County as that one has unraveled. That doesn't mean something might not be issued at some point in the future, but it's not as strong as some of the other storms. And this storm here along the Pontotoc-Lee County line, we're looking there just to the west of the Palmetto area, looking for debris. And on the debris mode, I would look for anything that wasn't white in that area right here, north of, in that little zone. Watch right there. That is where, as we go into precipitation mode, I would expect to see precipitation, right? And it would be right there on the county line, okay? So let me put my finger there and see if I can run my mouse with the other hand backward. But right there is where I'd look to see tornado debris, and I don't see it. It's a good sign there. That tells me we are not dealing with tornado debris on it. The storm moving northward, you saw some stuff shift. These fast-moving storms at about 25 to 30 miles per hour, so they will continue to track northward quickly. And checking the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, well-defined circulation. But to this point, We have not yet had reports of tornado touchdowns on these, but certainly we'll have to watch that potential. Let's track this northward based upon that current location there. Now that is a little more impressive on Storm Track Doppler radar than what it was just a moment ago here, and let me know where he is in my ear. First community, 9 minutes. The Chesterville area in about 16 minutes, a rotation continuing to maintain itself on this, and I think we need to define what we're looking at here. First off, we are looking at a situation where rotation could develop into a tornado very soon, but what we don't have, as we indicated a moment ago, is debris. What we don't have is a tornado that's been spotted on this thunderstorm, but what we need to do is be in our tornado safe place nonetheless. The lead time between when I go, oh yeah, that's definitely rotation that could produce a tornado, and it produces it, might be negative. There's a possibility today that I go, oh yeah, that definitely could produce a tornado, after it's already produced the tornado. These tropical showers, they don't look very good on radar. Radar has a tough time catching until after the fact, so we just have to prepare accordingly. If you're in one of these warnings, tornado or severe thunderstorm, you want to be in a sturdy structure on the lowest floor in the middle. Turn up the volume on your TV, wrap up in blankets and pillows, and stay put until we can give you the all clear on this. Let's go southward just slightly on this line. Let's go to the southern of these two storms, which has what meteorologists would refer to as cleaner inflow. This is the one we're trying to cycle our meteorologist Joel Young onto, is to catch this one that has the rotation along County Road 154 there. That's where the rotation is on this. Doesn't look terribly great on Storm Track Doppler radar. We go to, at least on the precipitation mode, let's go to the wind mode there, and that rotation more pronounced. It will update here in just a second, but you can see that's right where we're talking about near County Road 154. Let's go up a scan or two. These typically are fairly shallow, so our best look at it typically is really close to the ground. It doesn't usually strengthen a lot more up, but it's not impossible. Well, and it's pronounced there. I don't know if it's necessarily stronger, but it's definitely pronounced higher up. So two areas of circulation here. One that is right along, I believe that's 342, and another one that's along County Road 154, both with rotation that's not going to come over the top when we check it out on radar here, but in either case could be continuing to intensify. By the way, Mike, actually Zach, what we probably also want to do is we want to watch the comments on the live stream for reports as well. If we had somebody to check that on the social media, maybe that's something we have Morgan do, is watch those comments on the live stream. We're going to get some reports from you. We appreciate that. We are live streaming WTVA.com, also on Facebook Live. If you have reports to give us, that's where you give it. And we appreciate those reports as they continue to come in. My watch continues to buzz nonstop with those reports, and we appreciate all of those that you have sent us. Let's go ahead and check out our. The southern storm there. We know we've had this day started with a number of reports of severe thunderstorm rotation that could potentially produce tornado. The warning has been allowed to cancel in southern sections of Tippah County, but on the ground, checking the situation, the pulse of the people, and seeing what we can see on this is our Cody Long in the Starkville area. Cody, I wanted to touch base with you for a moment here, see what your vantage point's coming in with down there.
Yeah, I'm here in downtown Starkville. This is close to City Hall downtown on Main Street, and I want to step out of the shot. Just within the last 15 minutes here, the rain has really started to pick up. A lot of strong winds out here. I'm going to zoom in with the camera, see if you can actually see that out there, some of the heavy rains that are coming down. This is out here just to the north of Highway 182 in Starkville. And you could probably hear the rain coming down out here, and emergency management officials are recommending right now just to always be weather aware. Keep that volume up on your cell phone for when you get notifications. Also, in the case of a tornado warning like we've seen this morning, you always want to know where to take shelter. The basement or the bottom floor of your house is always best, something away from windows. And remember that weather conditions are changing quickly. It's always best just to have the WTVA weather app with you. Also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I know they've been doing live updates throughout the morning. And I also want to mention, I talked to the EMA director here in Starkville a few minutes ago. She said that she is expecting this line of storms to stay to the east of the city of Starkville, right there close to the Lowndes and Tippah County lines. We will continue to monitor the weather conditions out here, and we'll let you know, or we'll keep you updated throughout the day. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, that's our Cody Long down there in the Starkville area, hopefully calming the nerves of some of those parents there that have kids in Mississippi State in good shape at this point. We're watching the folks out at Ole Miss. There's a severe thunderstorm warning, northern part of Lafayette County, and another one back west in the Batesville. In either case, the tag on the warning is tornado possible. In neither case at this point, looking at storm track Doppler radar, do we think tornado likely, but something we're watching very closely. Our Craig Ford with us behind the scenes here, continuing to gather information. Craig?
Quick update from Chickasaw County Sheriff Jim Myers. They're monitoring the situation. No damage reported there.
Okay, no damage reported. Chickasaw County, where the southern of these storms was probably at its strongest point just a little bit ago. Both these storms have prompted the tornado warning for Chickasaw, Lee, and Union counties move through northern portion of the county. And good news there to hear that though rotation moved through, no reports of damage at this point. Certainly, if you have those reports, you can let the folks in your county know through either the Sheriff's Department, 911, if reports of damage. Most certainly that would qualify there. But let's keep those lines open other than that. And we'll do our best to try to keep you abreast of the situation. A reminder that if satellite goes out or you lose your ability to watch us on TV, we do stream live at WTVA.com/live. Got a lot of folks on Facebook saying, can you show the radar here? We can interact with you here. You're going to be able to see everything anybody at home sees at WTVA.com/live or in the news or WTVA weather apps, both free and available. Check those out. As the tornado warnings continue to sound in the Lee County area in Tupelo, we can hear them in the background there. We'll remind you what to do during this situation. And we had the folks behind the scenes going, hey, can we come out of shelter? We're keeping them in here at the TV station. We'd recommend you to do the same. Certainly the western part of the county, west of US 45, where we're most concerned that you need to be in a sturdy structure on the lowest floor in the middle and turn up the volume on your TV. The reason we say to do that, not because we want me yelling at you, but if you're in your safe place and your TV is not in the exact same spot, that we can give you that information once you get there, and stay put until we can give you the all clear. And in this case, we're still watching that potential. The rotation continuing to increase or at least maintain itself on both of these thunderstorms here. Two areas of circulation, one north of County Road 506 and another one that you could argue right there, that'd be close to Highway 6 west of the Tupelo area. In either case, still in the maybe category, but we go from maybe to happening in a very short period of time. Checking the debris mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, I don't see any at this point, but something we will have to revisit. New tornado warning issued within the last minute for sections of Tippah, Union, and Benton counties. Now, these are going to look less impressive on Storm Track Doppler radar. You're going to go, how are these barely showers? This looks like middle of the summer, and I get way more than this. We're a long ways away from the radar, number one, and that makes it tricky. And these tropical showers, as we said over and over again, are just not going to look that impressive, sometimes on the precipitation mode at all. You go to the wind mode, those areas of circulation, there are three of them there, one to the north and east of Ripley, one to the east of Ripley, and one on the Tippah Union County line. For folks that live in New Albany, and I know a lot of times the sirens go off county-wide, New Albany, you're good right now. We're watching the storms to your south still, position on those where those head long term. But if you live in New Albany proper, you're in good shape. Cotton Plant as well. But Ripley, these are a little to your east, and all three of these continuing to increase their rotation somewhat. And that's the reason why the National Weather Service has issued the tornado warnings on these. And it looks like we'll have a new one coming out for Benton County here in a minute. So on these three, again, it's Doppler radar rotation that at some point could lead to the development of a tornado. And you can see there's that one in Benton County, more toward the Ashland area. Let's go in a little closer. Let's track these. And then we're going to come back to Lee County, and we'll try to get the tower cam on there for you. But so the speed on these, we're going to keep about 25 miles per hour. The southern of those heading more toward Dumas. We'll be talking 9 minutes for you. So if you live in the Dumas community, you live near Dumas, within the next 10 minutes, we need to be in that tornado shelter now. That tornado safe place on the lowest floor of a sturdy structure. And this is maybe, maybe not. We're hoping, and there's a pretty decent chance that we escape all of these without any damage. But there's also a reasonable chance that maybe we have one tornado touchdown. And I'm not going to be able to sit here and say for sure that it's not this one near Locum, or not this one north of Dumas, or northeast of Ripley, because they're not going to look good on radar. And I guarantee you tomorrow I'm going to look and say, that was the one that did it? Yeah, that was the one that did it. So we've got to take all these seriously. And there's more of a false alarm likelihood in this scenario. But I just hope you'll give me 20 minutes. You'll go to that safe place, and we'll be fine with it. So no locations coming up on the track on the one there east of Ripley that's along Highway 4 right now. And then the one that's northeast of Ripley, we'll get that on the screen, pretty much right along Highway 773. Let me know where in my ear. And let's come back to the Lee County storm here. Let's continue to track the rotation on those. And we might actually, I hear the rain picking up here at the station, we might have missed our extremely brief window to get a shot of this. And before we go to the southern of these storms, I want to go to the one that's in eastern Pontotoc County near the Longview community, near the Furs area there. The wind on this one, this one has pixel to pixel wind change. Not all these have done it. It's only in that 28-mile-per-hour range, but it's definitely there. Let's track this northeast. I'm not going to get a whole lot of folks because we're in fairly close on this. Longview community within 7 minutes. Of course, that's the center of the community. Enville, close to 13 minutes on that one there. The shot out of our Tupelo tower cam looking back toward the west here, and I'm going to kind of jockey this around a little bit, so I apologize. Now we're looking more toward the west. That would be looking toward, okay. So stay with me a second as we're going to kind of shoot back and forth on this. So we're looking Natchez Trace there. That's that new road, Barnes Crossing extended there, okay? So let's go to the radar for a second here so I can kind of show what we're looking at, why we're looking at it for a moment, because we're only going to get a couple brief glimpses out of tower cam of what we're trying to see there. And so there's that new road, that Barnes Crossing extended, and so we're looking right through that little clear slot. That was the rain you saw south, the rain you saw north there, that little clear spot back there toward the first community. So this is about the only time we're going to get a shot, a visible shot of one of these areas of rotation. And luckily, looking at this, I see a lowering, yes. I don't see a wall cloud, I don't see anything else. That's not shocking because you just have to catch it at the exact second. And so that's our viewpoint on this one, the north of those rotations, the reason why this tornado warning has been issued. The southern one, we're not going to have a shot out of this tower cam. Luckily, though, we have our meteorologist Joel Young right here on US 278 on the south side of Tupelo, looking into that storm near Palmetto, and he only has a short window to be able to see this. Joel, let's pull up your shot, and what are you seeing?
Hey, Matt, I am looking west. I'm on Highway 278. We're already west of Gloucester, so we're actually between Gloucester and the Natchez Trace. If you look straight through that gap in the trees, on the left side, you should see that southernmost couplet, or that area of rotation that we've been tracking through southern Lee County. And I can't tell right. It does appear to be lowering, but I can't really get a good vantage as to whether we have any kind of real anything on the ground. Of course, at some point when it passes a little bit farther to the right there, we should be able to see it a little bit clearly.
So you're at Gloucester right now. I would say that I would get, let's go back to Storm Track Doppler radar and let's keep Joel's audio on for a second here. I think we can get, if you're looking at, it shows Graham Drive here on my radar screen. Let's go to Weather 2 for a moment here. I think if you get within 1 mile of the Natchez Trace, you're in a good shot where you can be close enough to see it, but far enough away to not have to worry about it. So if you get directly south of Tupelo High School, you would have a pretty good vantage point on this. I would migrate west just a little bit because of that.
All right. So go west?
Yeah, I would go west till, if you're looking at GPS, you're directly south of Tupelo High School. So, I mean, you're not going but another mile or two west, and that should get us close enough to see something, far enough away to know for sure that you're safe.
Yeah, and then try to go north?
I would stay there, let it pass you by. And then if you can, we might migrate up the trace and head over to 6. We're going to have a hard time keeping up with this. Yeah, Cliff Goopican probably where I'd go from there. But I would wait it for a few minutes to let it get past.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Okay, good luck. Okay, so good.
Right,
Both of the visual opportunities that our meteorologist Joel Young on Highway 278 South Tupelo there, watching the southern of these two areas of rotation there. And luckily at this point, not seeing anything that is a for sure tornado on this, and that's a good sign there. Anytime we could say we're still dealing in probablys, we're dealing in a good situation here. But the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar continues to show that area of rotation. Still a little, well, luckily a little more broad than it was a minute ago, and that's meteorologist nerd terms to say a little weaker, luckily. When it's concentrated pixel to pixel, that's when we really have to worry. So Joel, we're migrating him to about here so we can get the shot as this passes out here along 278. So obviously if we're maneuvering him to avoid this zone, we don't want you traveling between the Highway 6 278 interchange there and the Natchez Trace Parkway. Want to avoid that right now. And speaking of another roadway to avoid, looking northward here, I think we probably should avoid I-22 if you can travel between Tupelo and New Albany for about the next 45 minutes just to be safe as well. Luckily, what we have at this time is we do not have reports of tornadoes on the ground. And looking at Joel's circulation here, and let's look at the debris mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, the zone that we'd be looking at right in here, that's where our rotation is, nothing. We're seeing bugs out here. That's what this is, believe it or not. This is bugs, maybe very light rainfall. So here where the rain would be wrapping, and we'd be looking to see, is there a little core where possibly it is more intense, and that is where we have debris. Luckily, that is not in the case. On that southern part and the northern part, it looks to be the same scenario here. Let's double check it on the precipitation mode on Storm Track Doppler radar. Let's check that. And luckily, the long view circulation continues to weaken, but this one down south doesn't. That's why we have our meteorologist Joel Young on it. Just in the last couple of moments, new tornado warning issued. This one issued for Lee, Pontotoc, Union counties. So this continuing to migrate northward. And so this tornado warning issued until noontime. Current time is 11:30. A lot of times these tornado warnings are much longer than this. The reason they're much more short term is these spin-ups are pretty quick, but certainly that is our most intense storm. Continuing to maneuver people, I think we have Joel in the right position here. Let's look southward. By the way, this is the reason we always talk about weather call. You saw it pop on the screen there a second ago. Hello?
This is WTVA Chief Meteorologist Matt Wabhon with a weather call mobile notification. The tornado warning you recently received for your reported location is no longer in effect. It is now safe to resume normal activities. Repeating, the tornado warning you recently received for your reported location is no longer in effect. It is now safe to resume normal activities. If you'd like to hear this.
Do you see that, by the way? Do you see how on Storm Track Doppler radar here, we are less than 2 miles from the edge of that tornado warning, yet I got the all clear? Because the distinction made by the National Weather Service that the TV station here is all clear, but you go just west, and we have to watch that southern circulation and not in the all clear. So sometimes people say, why didn't I get a weather call? It's because you weren't in it. And here at the TV station, I fully anticipated that they were going to say tornado warning issued until noon. For our exact location, we're not. So the folks behind the scenes there, Jerry, can come out of the tornado safe place. We are good here at the TV station. That's why we always talk about weather call, because of the specificity that it brings to you. Okay, so let me stop that there. So there's our new tornado warning. Let's look southward for a second here, see if we can find our Cody Long. Those storms in Starkville continue to weaken. We've gotten to a dry slot there. Where do we want Cody? I would migrate him. Honestly, migrate him back to Columbus, and then once we get to Columbus, let's revisit this issue there, because the only way in which Starkville gets back into it is if this batch here starts developing. But fortunately, very fortunately, a lot of dry air wrapping in here. And so let's rotate him over toward the Columbus area. Let's check back in with our meteorologist, Joel Young, if we can. I don't know if we have him there. If we can, let's get him back on. He should have his best vantage point of this circulation in western Lee County. We're pretty much right along the Lee-Pontotoc County line, right along US 278 where it is. We'd have Joel here. Okay, let's get, if we can get him back, do we have his video up? Even if we don't have his audio. Okay, so this is Joel's video. We'll get his audio back here in a second. And I believe he's working up the Natchez Trace Parkway. He's going to try to take Coley Road. We're trying to keep him at a safe distance away from this. Luckily, looking at this, what I don't see is I don't see a lowering. That could be a tornado trying to come down out of this. That doesn't mean that something doesn't change in that regard. But luckily, at this exact moment, that is about as good as I'm going to get out of one of these. Another vantage point of that storm, Let's go to the Tupelo Tower Cam for a second. We'll come back to Joel's audio here in a moment. Let's go Tupelo, and we'll do it from my weather computer here on Weather 2. As we're looking back toward the south and west, we're looking toward the spot there where maybe we could see something lowering there. I don't, at least thankfully at this moment, see that, but We'll continue to watch this. Luckily, at this point, we're still dealing with probablys and maybes. We're not dealing with guarantees, and that's a good sign in that regard there. Let's go back to Joel. Let's bring up his video for a moment here as we continue to track that storm that's along the Pontotoc-Lee County line. We're showing signs of rotation. Joel, that tornado warning extended until noontime for your locations to the north and west. What are you seeing?
What do you see, Joel?
We're going north. We're going to get on Cliff and take left instead of taking right to the Tupelo High School. We're going to take a left here, and we're going to get a better vantage point of the southernmost area of rotation. We have seen a lowering, and a little earlier we were almost driving parallel to it as it tracked due north. We were driving due north on the Natchez Trace. We're turning left on Cliff Gook, and now we're going to drive back underneath the Natchez Trace, and we should be able to give you a better vantage point from there, Matt.
Okay, let's keep Joel's audio up for a second. Let's have a conversation with him while we go to Weather 2 on the graphic behind me, if we could, please, so that way we can show. Let's keep his audio up, but let's show this. And Joel, when you say that you had a pretty good lowering, did you see rotation on the lowering? Was it just, you know, what would have qualified as an inflow? Well, what exactly did you see? Joel, are you there? Can you hear me?
Slow down. Pull over somewhere.
Can Joel hear me on the phone or there, or does he only hear you? Okay, well, we'll get back with Joel here in a second. Let's pot him down for a moment here. So he's getting repositioned to get into a better shot of this. So now we're looking Highway 6, just a little north of that, near the first community, south of Chesterville, just west of the Lee-Pontotoc County line. That's where our rotation is increasing, or not increasing, but maintaining itself at this point and continuing to move toward the north and west with a speed at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. By the way, a reminder that if your signal goes out because of heavy rainfall, which might not be as big an issue today as it is some days, you can watch us live at WTVA.com or in the WTVA weather or news apps. Facebook Live, by the way, where you send those reports. Luckily, the newsroom hasn't been come over here telling me there have been a lot of reports of damage. Hopefully, that's a situation we could continue to see. But the Enville area, within 15 minutes, we're watching that for you. Let's get Chesterville in this track, even though the rotation just a little bit west of you. I at least want a time on there. 8 minutes for you into the Chesterville area rotation on this. A wider perspective showing that the circulation's still strong over Lee-Pontotoc County in our discussion with the National Weather Service, but they are going with tornado confirmed on the storm up here in Benton County. They're near the Ashland area. That the discussion just with the, tornado observed within the last couple of moments here on this storm. I believe that probably would have to come back to either tornado debris or reports from the field. And at this point, the debris mode, thankfully, not showing up with much on that one there. I know that's kind of fringe the viewing area, but certainly something we're watching very, very closely. A tornado observed would be the first of those today in our area. Tornado warning does continue for sections of Tippah County, primarily Tippah County. I think those rotations now out of far northern Union County. There's a couple here that we're watching in Tippah County. I know they don't look impressive on radar, and our tornado warning in effect until noontime on this north of the Dumas area where we are tracking those near Highway 4, another one near County Road 500. These don't look like anything hardly on radar. Looking at the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, what we do have, we're kind of in fringe area here where maybe not something. Luckily, I think we're dealing with a good scenario with this. Okay, our meteorologist Joel Young on the phone with us here, doing this the old-fashioned way, Joel. And from your vantage point, what are you seeing at this point?
Well, right now we've got a 18-wheeler in the way, so we're going to try to let him get a little bit farther up so that we can see what's above the horizon. A little bit better.
I don't like hearing that there's an 18-wheeler in the way. I'd really hope that there aren't a whole lot of people there on the road.
By the way, we're on West Main. We just passed Steele's Dive and crossed over the bridge just next to Steele's Dive, and we're going out toward the Pontotoc County line. So we're on West Main now.
Okay, so you're on West Main, just a little west of West Main and Coley, which you see on there, trying to get a shot of this. There's not a good road network that goes from southeast and northwest here that he can just follow with these storms, so we're having to kind of negotiate around. Let's see what his shot looks like at this point. I know what that usually looks like. There's some issues with trees there from time to time. And Joel, you said that you've seen some lowerings on this. We had some connection issues a minute ago. I was us asking this. Did you have rotation in those lowerings, or is it just a lowering?
Right now, I've just seen some lowering. Let me ask you real quick, Matt, before we get too far west, do we need to go back? Should we get back on Coley and go north and maybe try to get advantage from
22?
From that direction?
Yeah. Go to Coley,
Yeah.
go north, get on 22, migrate north to Belden. You'll come up, you'll be able to slowly migrate towards Sherman. That would help you out a little better.
Good call. Yeah, we're going to do that real quick, and I'll let you know when we get there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Our meteorologist, Joel Young of West Tupelo. We're turning. The reason we're doing that, I think if we felt confident that we were going to, that it was going to produce in the next minute or two, we try to negotiate around. I think this is going through a cycle where it's weakened a little bit and it might re-strengthen. And so I'd rather have him in position for the re-strengthening that may or may not happen closer to the Sherman area, as opposed to get him caught up and then not be able to catch something, not be able to know for sure once it gets closer to I-22, obviously a more traveled roadway there. So some all clears for a moment here. First off, if you live within the city limits of Tupelo, certainly if you live east of 45, we're in good shape. I would say if you live east of Coley Road, we're in good shape. If you can see, if you live south and east of the Natchez Trace Parkway, you're in good shape. You get out here toward, I think, like Chesterville Road, Enville Road, we're still in the zone here. We have to watch this. The wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, checking that out here for a moment. Not nearly what it was, thankfully. That's a good sign. I need to make sure that we're on the right radar here and using the right velocity, because there's a lot of different angles we try to take at this just to hopefully get one that shows us something that we know for sure, and luckily we're not knowing for sure on that. Now, I will say the storm up closer to Sherman now has, in the last few scans here, gotten a little more organized, and they're kind of trading blows as to which one is spiking up, which one is weakening, and this one might be spiking up just a little bit here, north and west of Enville, where we're looking at that rotation there. So obviously New Harmony, that's where the Toyota plant is in Blue Springs there. Kind of have to watch this. The rotation definitely there. And it's lagging a little bit behind. We're a scan or two behind here. So I'd put it near the Center Hill Road there, just south of the Blue Springs plant there. I know a lot of folks work up there. One of the bigger employers in the area. And so we're talking a little less than 5 minutes for that plant there. I know that they have preparations. They have their own companies that help them with forecasting this kind of stuff, and they'll be in good shape and are likely already prepared for this. But within the 5 minutes there, for the folks at home worrying about spouses that are working there, friends, we're watching that closely. Luckily, we're still in the maybe, possibly category, not the we're sure that this is happening category. New tornado warning issued within the last couple of moments here for Calhoun and Chickasaw counties. Again, it's one of these bands. And you just take a second here and we look at this. These are a lot of tornado warnings and a lot of questions whether or not any of them will produce. But just out of an abundance of caution, that's the reason why the National Weather Service continues to issue on these, and the reason we continue to talk about them. This tornado warning in effect until 12:15 does include the city of Houston. The rotation with this pretty close to town right now. Let's go to the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, and from the radar site down there in Monroe County, I'd have it just north of the Sonora area. Pixel to pixel wind change, not overly impressive. Maybe it's a little better out of Memphis, but there's enough there that part of this is if they've confirmed damage on that, or at least a touchdown on that storm up there in Benton County, that's going to make everybody go, whoa, if that was capable of it, what are some of these other capable? And so out of an abundance of caution, that's where these tornado warnings come from. This tornado warning for sections of the Chickasaw and Calhoun County. Let's get a track on this storm. I think we're going to keep it at about that same 25 mile per hour rate. And Houston, at that rate, would be about 8 minutes for you. The Thelma area at about 23 minutes. The reason why, and you can see it does extend out into Calhoun County, it's just in case it continues to curve back a little more northwest. These are all because of Harvey. If you haven't heard, there's this tropical system. It's Harvey, and everybody's ready for it to die out. Not just here, but everywhere. And so closer to the center of this system is where you're going to have the flooding rainfall, and you're going to tend to have a difference in the angle in which these are coming in. These more heading toward the northeast east, these more heading northwest, and some of these heading almost completely northwest or even west-northwest, closer to the center of this. But we're in this zone where if we were right at the coast, we'd be worried about these kind of spin-ups, and it's just that difference in what we call shear that can cause these to happen. So now we have in North Mississippi now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tornado warnings, all in the maybe category, and that luckily a good thing. Looking at, let's come back to the Lee County tornado warning. It's, I say Lee County, it's really Pontotoc County where we have the most intense rotation on this at this point. Let's cut it down to just the closest site here, and not what these were 20, 30 minutes ago. That doesn't mean they don't produce something, but luckily not what these were 20, 30 minutes ago. I now should be back into the clear slot where we can see the southern storm out of our Tupelo tower cam. It's going to take it a moment here before I can get it shot the right direction. So we're looking now west, right there is where we would need to be looking. This is our lowering. Joel will have a different perspective of this here in a moment. As we look west out of our Tupelo tower cam, this is the lowering. This whole thing here rotating, okay? Whole thing's rotating. Now, is it rotating enough to produce a tornado? Clearly not at this moment. So we can see just based off of this vantage point on that one storm whether or not it's producing a tornado. And at this instant, luckily it is not. That doesn't mean that something won't change. But luckily at this instant, out of this tower cam vantage point, we are good. Now I'm going to zoom in a little closer just in case there's something more low contrast going on here. And we'll give this a second. I'm not a very patient person, but we have to be patient on tower cam here for just a moment to make sure that this isn't, because this is easily our strongest storm, at least on radar. Maybe radar's not telling us everything we didn't know. That happens from time to time. But I just want to make sure that we don't see something obvious coming down out of this. If you're looking at that there, by the way, that's likely a raindrop on the lens, kind of messing with our light there. But this is the base of that. Luckily, that base enough off the ground that we're not talking about something imminently right down at the ground. So that's a good sign there. Okay, so that's our vantage point. Unfortunately, it's going to go behind our tower here in a minute. But we at least have it for the moment here, a shot. And we'll come back to that. In my ear, Kelly, 2 minutes. I need you to tell me in 2 minutes to get back to that. Let's pull that off. Sirens continuing to sound in the Tupelo area, north of Tupelo, obviously, where our television station is because of these. Specifically, Tupelo proper, our WTVA studios. If you live Sotelo, Guntown, most locations in Lee County. These rotations we're looking at are in Pontotoc and Union County. The threat for 99% of us in Lee County has passed, and you can come out of those tornado safe places there. Looking up toward the storms closer to the Ripley area. Definitely showing some rotation still on these. I'm going to see if maybe we have a slightly better vantage point out of Memphis, but we haven't really to this point here. Yeah, there's still rotation on it. I don't look at this and say that I feel confident that this is going to be producing a tornado anytime soon. But for case in point as to how radar, which, I mean, let's be honest, I like my radar. We talk a lot about it. We promote it a lot. But this one near Ashland, report just a little bit earlier from folks on the ground there in Benton County that there was some tree damage from this thunderstorm there. Now, was it wind damage? Was it tornado damage? At this point, we're going to take the cautious end and say possibly was tornado damage, and so that's why tornado observed still the report on this Benton County storm as it moves northward there. Near the Ashland area, report of at least some damage out of this. Still working to get information back there. But just for perspective, does that look any worse on radar than this one near Faulkner? No. So that's the abundance of caution. If one of those, you're going, it's not that big a deal, but it does something, then you look at this and you go, geez, yeah, we got to pay close attention to that one too. And so just for that perspective as well, let's track that northward. We're going to keep that 25-mile-per-hour speed as that continues to move toward the Walnut area there, up toward the north. You can see Faulkner 6 minutes, Walnut 22 minutes, Brownfield there in 29 minutes on that one. So closer to the center of Harvey, more of a possibility there. Looking at our rotations here, west and northwest of Tupelo there, one of them It looks like just a little north there of County Road 197. Another one you could argue near the Blue Springs plant there, and another one moving up closer to the Highway 9 area. The three areas of rotation. It's the southern one here that we're checking on out of our Tupelo tower cam. We're trying to see, do we still have that vantage point? We're a little more into the rainfall here. And so we got to get a closer shot. And the way we do that is using our meteorologist, Joel Young, who is on the ground approaching and near the I-22 area on this southernmost storm. Joel, from your vantage point, what do you have?
All right, Matt, we are actually just crossing Tippah on I-22. So we're going to be crossing over into Pontotoc County shortly, just east of Sherman. We're looking west and more of a northwest. And you can see there's somewhat of a lowering. If you look to the left there a little bit, you can see some sunlight there, and on the right side you might be able to see. You got a little bit of a tree line there, but here shortly we might be able to find a more open space to be able to see that.
Hold on just a second, Joel.
Okay.
Go ahead and pop my audio back up, if you could. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear me. There we go. Okay, let's do my audio on this so we can get Joel on this so we can have a conversation back and forth on that. So let's continue moving northwestward. Joel, I'm going to keep you on here, so you might mute and unmute your phone so that we can hear you. But when you have something more, pop on here in a second. I want you to watch that. I'm going to go back to Storm Track Doppler radar and track a few more things. But
right now?
Say again?
I was just making sure you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you right now. Go ahead. Here's what I'll say. Mute yourself for a moment, because I'm just going to leave your phone connected here right next to me. And when you have something, pop in, because I know you're watching that very, very closely. He's watching this Chesterville storm. There's some other rotations we're watching. And so keep us abreast of that. Joel Young heading up I-22, approaching the Sherman area, watching the southernmost storm there. He's looking that direction out of his camera at that rotation there, which is probably one of the better or stronger ones that we have on Storm Track Doppler radar. And look at these just to make sure we don't have something else that's popped on. The overarching thing we need to say as well is we do have a tornado watch box that's in effect for most of our counties, the exception of which are Grenada, Kilmichael, Montgomery, Webster, Choctaw, and Winston counties. Those folks not included. This tornado watch until 8 p.m. Eventually, more counties will be cut off of this as we progress through the next few hours. But the tornado warnings, we're kind of in our peak of this for the next couple, and we might have already peaked, honestly, with that potential. We have Chickasaw and Calhoun counties, 5,300 people under this tornado warning in effect until 12:15. Current time at this moment is 11:51, so still watching that warning there, as you can see flashing on your screen. The one that we have Joel on, two separate circulations we're watching, one approaching the Blue Springs plant for Toyota there, pretty much right over top of Blue Springs, and then another one that's moving closer to the Sherman area. 10,000 people under this warning for Lee, Pontotoc, and Union counties. And let's go to Joel's video here if we can, to pop up Joel's video, and let's just plan to pop it back and forth here. Leave his audio, though. Leave my audio up, and let's do it that way there. Joel, what do you got?
Yes, we are approaching the Sherman exit. We're driving west on Interstate 22, looking out, and I've kind of tilted the camera a little bit to the left so you can see better. On the back side of this cat building, the Thompson Caterpillar building, you can see a lowering. And now this rotation...
That's right where you're looking, right? You're right on it there, Joel. That is our lowering. That's our rotation that we were having.
We're going to actually be crossing over the bridge at Sherman, and I've got Rebecca Butcher here. She is driving for me. If you'll go ahead and get up to the top of this bridge here so we can see. We'll get a better... should get a little bit more elevation. We'll be able to see here.
And I think you can probably, it's moving, it's not moving slow, but it's moving slow enough that if you can get a safe spot where you pull off and look at it, let's take a minute here and let's just kind of watch this for a minute from your vantage point.
We're parking here on this shoulder right here at the Sherman exit.
Okay, make sure you're safely far enough off, have flashers on, the whole thing. You know how to be safe. You've done this before. Let's come back to Storm Track Doppler radar. So here's where Joel is. Joel's right here. There is where he is looking. He's looking at that lowering here. Does it look impressive on radar? Absolutely not. But this is the area where you could see, you saw that gray stuff hanging down closer to the ground. That is the rotation there that we are watching on Storm Track Doppler radar. and then back farther to the north and west, approaching the Wallerville area. That area closer, now just north and west of Blue Springs, excuse me, is the other area of rotation. Looking at storm track Doppler radar, that northwest one there, little less impressive. 20 mile per hour pixel to pixel wind change. The one that's pretty much right over top of Highway 9 that Joel's looking into, more impressive, 46 miles per hour, which is as high as anything that we've checked on storm track Doppler radar today. I think we might have hit 54 once, but that's about as strong as anything is, and certainly it does not look on radar anything what it looked like when this tornado warning originally came out for Lee, Pontotoc, and Chickasaw counties earlier. It is weakened on precipitation mode, but it is still definitely there on the wind mode of storm track Doppler radar. In the Enville area where we are watching that, pretty much right over top of could please here for a moment as we continue to watch this. We might not get Joel's audio necessarily for a second here, but let's get Joel's video back up and forth. And by the way, at the top of the noon show here, let's hit the severe weather open and just come right back to chroma key, if we could. So you know the thing that we usually begin the cut-ins with. So Highway 9 there, that's where we're looking. That's Joel's shot. Let's go back to Joel's shot for a moment here. And so we're still looking toward that lowering, still watching it as it continues to move toward the north. And it's definitely showing signs of rotation, but at this point, not as convinced that that rotation is, it's certainly not producing a tornado at the moment, but the reason we have it in position there is in case it takes that next step. We do have a tornado warning that does continue for Chickasaw County. That tornado warning does show the rotation over top of Houston at this moment here. So that tells me in my head, I apologize how long it's been since I've been back to Houston, because I think it was 8 minutes when we were there a minute ago, and now it's pretty much over top. So either A, it's moved faster, or it's taken me a couple minutes to get back, so I apologize for that. Now the rotation there close to the Thorn area in the latest scan to come down just in the last moment here. Wind mode on storm track Doppler radar. Definitely showing a little bit there north and west of Houston. 20 miles per hour, not quite that storm we were looking up there into Pontotoc County that's approaching the Union County line, but it's definitely there enough. Let's get a new storm track on it based upon that latest location near County Road 405, just a little north of that and east of that. Thelma, we're at about 12 minutes for you in 20 minutes into the Holka area, assuming this holds together. It's not going to look like much on radar. Checking the debris mode on storm track Doppler radar, we're not detecting any of that, so fingers crossed we can keep it that way. But I would say certainly if you live north of Houston, if you live in Houston proper, give me about 5 more minutes in that tornado safe place, just in case, just to be safe. The kids, of course, that's what we're watching for as well. But we have not had a tornado that's been spotted or debris that's been confirmed. We do have rotation that could develop into a tornado very soon, or maybe soon. I don't know if I'd say very soon, but with these tropical rotations like this, they're not always going to look that great. And so I want to keep you in that tornado safe place, that sturdy structure if you live in the northern part of Chickasaw County. Calhoun County, the rotation here is probably going to stay a little bit to your east. So sturdy structure, lowest floor, middle. Want to turn up the volume on the TV and wrap up in blankets and pillows and stay there until we can give you the all clear. And so as far as all clears are concerned, we can do that, I would say, for Houston proper, certainly the southern part of town. That is the case. Woodland, Sonora, Tabbville, Highland, all these folks here. We at Sparta, you can come out of those tornado safe places. The threat, at least from this storm, which isn't overly impressive looking on storm track Doppler radar, is certainly to your north. The northern storms here, and just to go all the way up to the practically Tennessee state line to make sure we're good on these for a moment. But at this exact instant, those not quite as impressive. Let's do a quick storm track, and then we're going to get Joel on here and get his stuff popped up after we get a storm track on that one. Faulkner, we're at 15 minutes there. Walnut, we're in 32 minutes, assuming the same speed. And then a storm track on the storm that Joel is on to make sure that we get that on here. And the storm track on this, still at 25 miles per hour, would have it in the Blue Springs within the next 13 minutes Inville right now. Our meteorologist Joel Young is with us, and he is tracking this storm visually. He has a camera on it with our Rebecca Butcher. Joel, what are you seeing?
At a lowering, there's a lot of scud here. We just crossed over the Union County line, looking toward Blue Springs. There is a lowering. It's very dark, and I can't really make out anything here as far as anything on the ground. But I can tell you there's a lot of scud, and it is a very low cloud. And now I will say also there was a truck back there that had pulled over. I don't know if he's hearing our reports and if he decided or if he knows of anything. But looking at that, I would say that certainly the precipitation picked up underneath that cloud base. What can you make out of it from there? What do you observe from our imagery that you might be able to add?
I can actually, looking at yours, I can at least see, and if you'll be able to pop us up in front of this here in a second, I can see on the left-hand part of your screen at least a clearing there. And that's, I think, that's a kind of our clear slot that we're looking into. I mean, I see the heavy precipitation. It looks like it's over top of the interstate there. And I feel like that clear slot back there, that's where we obviously should be watching. But luckily, that is not, you know, rock solid there. By the way, my mic battery just died. Check, check, can you hear me? No, weather mic, pop the weather mic back up, pop the weather mic back up, pop the weather mic back up. Tell them pop the weather mic back up if you could, please. Tell them pop the weather mic back up.